I have a bad feeling about this. As positive and exciting as it is to finally see Tesla kind of revive and make mainstream the long-range rear-wheel drive variants of the Model 3 and the Model Y now, I think we should look at the reason and the rationale behind Tesla finally offering these options. This is the kind of conversations Tesla bulls don't want to have, so I'm sorry if you're only looking for positive Tesla news, but Tesla got rid of these high-range, low-price options years ago because they knew they heavily cannibalized sales of the all-wheel drive models, and because they felt confident enough in the range they could achieve with their dual motor options that they felt like they had plenty of demand. You know, they could find enough buyers willing to pay top dollar for those dual motor options, and the fact that prices have fallen so much now that Tesla has been willing to revive these old trims that haven't been around for years, to me is a sign that they're not quite seeing the demand they used to have. And sure, the demand issue is a moving target because Tesla has much higher production capacity now than they used to, but that's kind of the challenging part of trying to grow your business and trying to grow vehicle deliveries every single year, is that you kind of have to also find new demand to unlock every single year. And I think because Tesla's kind of having a hard time finding enough buyers to take delivery of all the vehicles they're building now that they've ramped up Giga Texas and Fremont is running on all cylinders, they're probably going to continue trying to find ways to price these vehicles lower and lower and lower, as we've already seen with them taking out the front motor in several of their models now. And Tesla is probably trying to maximize the federal tax credit best they can. That's why if you don't qualify for the tax credit, they're going to give you a vehicle with an LG battery pack, which is kind of worse. Whereas if you do qualify, they give you the Panasonic battery pack because that does qualify for the full tax credit and it charges better. So lots of wins to that battery. But the reason I say I have a bad feeling is not because I'm a Tesla shareholder or worried about the state of the company. Like, I think Tesla will survive. I don't think they're doomed or anything. However, I do think in order to maximize savings and get the vehicle prices low as they possibly can, I believe they are going to revive an old battery pack that they got rid of years ago that a lot of Tesla fans are not the biggest fan of, and that's the standard range battery pack that is still using 2170 cells. It's basically the same kind of pack as the long range, just physically smaller, but it's not LFP. You can't charge it to 100% every day, and as we've already seen in the used market, these smaller, like 50 to 60 kilowatt hour battery packs that are still 2170 cells degrade a lot faster, because if you're driving the same number of miles as the long range options, then you up the cycle count much faster, and because it's still a nickel-based battery, the degradation is a lot more noticeable on these standard range battery packs. But the advantage that I'm sure Tesla is probably talking about right now and discussing is that they could technically build an even cheaper vehicle that would still qualify for the federal tax credit. I've accurately predicted things in the past that Tesla ended up reviving, and that's the feeling I'm getting right now, is that Tesla's looking for, okay, how do we grow our vehicle deliveries higher and higher? And they're pulling as many demand levers as they can with new color options, new rim options, now bringing back those long-range, cheaper options that they got rid of years and years ago. Now I think what the inevitable next step is, if they can't find enough demand with the current EV offerings, is for them to start making a standard range rear-wheel drive version of the Model 3 and Y that do actually use 2170 cells, but the battery packs are just smaller, the vehicle is overall lighter, and you won't be able to charge it to 100% daily, which some of you may look at as a positive thing. You know, if you don't drive a lot and road trips aren't a huge concern to you and cycle life isn't even a huge concern to you, then I guess supposedly this could be looked at as a silver lining, because Tesla will theoretically be able to sell a vehicle that after the tax credit starts around $30,000. You know, if they get rid of the LFP Model 3 and replace it with a 2170 standard range Model 3, which would probably have around 60 kilowatt hours or maybe a little bit less because of the lighter weight, they feel like they can achieve close to 270 miles of range, but again, not 100% chargeable daily, then it would qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit and still start around $37,000, so that you could say after the point of sale credit, this is a $30,000 Tesla or a $29,000 Tesla. And then making a whole new vehicle platform just to cost $25,000 doesn't actually sound that necessary or that difficult to do, right? Because it's like, well, you're already selling cars that are in the $30,000 range. Why make a whole car just for a $25,000 vehicle? Maybe that's kind of the mindset Elon is in right now, but yeah, depending on what the sales look like near the end of this year for the new long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 and Model Y. I think there's a very real chance that they will revive the standard range battery packs that are not LFP simply to get the entry price that much lower. And while in the short term I could see people saying, Drew, this is not a bad thing, we're excited to have even cheaper Teslas come out on the market, and perhaps you're right, especially for people who aren't looking to drive great distances with their Teslas and are mainly just looking for driving around town. Yes, these will be very affordable, and they will still probably have a lot of the great perks of the refreshed Model 3, like the ventilated seats, the upgraded suspension. Plus, it will probably become the lightest Tesla in the lineup, likely far below 4,000 pounds because it's a small battery pack that's still energy dense. But where my main concern is the long-term reviews of these vehicles. If you look in Tesla's history, when you watch YouTube videos about people who had to replace their high voltage battery pack, that created a lot of negative news because people are like, look at how expensive the battery is and it went bad so quickly. It's usually people that were trying to road trip with standard range 2170 cells. It was the lower cycle count and the lower overall pack capacity that resulted in a lot of negative Tesla stories, and that's also the reason we've seen the resale value on those standard range Teslas drop so substantially fast, is because they depreciate much faster when those battery packs aren't as large. The cycle count just racks up much faster. That results in more negative press, and especially in the winter or the extreme heat, now the range concerns are extrapolated because these battery packs were just known for not being all that great. So maybe Tesla saw all of the negative news and negative stories that was generated by those, 50 to 60 kilowatt hour 2170 packs, and maybe that's why they want to avoid them and keep using LFP. But knowing how Tesla loves to kind of rush and kind of cut corners for end of quarter, end of year delivery pushes, I have a feeling that they won't care too much about the long-term ramifications, and they would rather just be able to say and boast about online the fact that, hey, you can buy a Tesla now that starts after the point of sale tax credit under $30,000. Even I got to admit, while there is some concern about how well the battery pack will age, that's a really good headline, and that would probably push a lot of sales to know that this Tesla is undercutting a lot of gas vehicles out there by a substantial margin. That could push inventory, that could push a lot of sales, and my only saving grace is seeing how much pushback they got on a recent Twitter post bragging about how their battery packs are supposed to outlive the vehicle, but that's why they have a warranty of 100,000 miles, and pretty much the entire Tesla community and anti-Tesla community was like, well, if the battery pack is supposed to outlast the vehicle, why don't you extend the warranty to 200,000 miles? At least with the lithium iron phosphate pack, those are supposed to have like twice the cycle life of the nickel-based cells. Definitely, I think Tesla would probably see another bump in sales if they upped the warranty on the battery pack and drivetrain to be 200,000 instead of 100,000. But the fact that they don't want to budge from 100,000 isn't a great look, and especially if they started shipping those lower cycle count nickel-based batteries at the smaller capacity and still gave those a 100,000 or 80,000 mile warranty, that's not going to help with a lot of the criticism that EVs receive about, yeah, they're great, but they don't age all that well. So I hope Tesla considers upping the warranty in the not too distant future. But what do you guys think? Is Tesla going to consider reviving the standard range 2170 cell options for the Model 3 and Y? Or do you think that we've reached kind of the pricing floor for the Model 3 and Y? Like, they're not going to get much cheaper than they are right now, and if we want new Teslas at least to start much less than that, we're going to need a new vehicle architecture, like the Robotaxi, just with some steering wheel and pedals thrown in. All your thoughts, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos, so thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.